Hi, Michael. Nice to see the two of you.
I dressed up for the evening. I thought, it's Friday night, it's fancy night. I was thinking, I'll wear my like fancy jacket, little boa, some
Yeah,
sunglasses.
lovely.
Cool.
How
Good
you all doing?
choice.
Great.
Oh, I'm having I miss interaction with humans day.
Oh, tell me about it. No.
Yeah,
I will say it's not as much for me as interaction with humans as it is interaction with interpersonal, like being able to actually see a person and look at somebody in the eyes and not looking through a screen.
yeah, yeah,
I'm a teacher, so I see students every day, but it's just not the same. It's weird.
yeah.
What do you teach?
I teach fine arts, so I'm a studio art professor.
Cool. For
Yeah.
what level?
Most of the classes that I teach are foundations classes, so they're freshman students that are coming in. I'm the foundations coordinator, so I teach a lot of the like two-dimensional design, three-dimensional design, drawing one, drawing two, painting one, things like that.
Cool.
Yeah. How about you?
Well, my name's Sandy, and I've been involved with the Colorado Kinetics for 30 plus years,
Nice. Awesome.
mostly as an amateur photographer.
Okay.
Back in the days, I would print DVDs for all the teams, like compile my 2000 photos. And,
Nice.
I had the printer where you could print something on the DVD.
Sure. I know, old school. It's funny. I was discussing with my child. She's 18 years old, and I was telling her about, a Commodore 64, where you had like the little side, little kind of thing that put the floppy disk. And she was like, "A floppy disk? What is that?" And I'm like, "So it's like about this big. It's like floppy. You got to put it in." And I was like, "You can only run one program at a time. Like." It's not like you can kind of like have multiple kind of screens going and all that kind of stuff. Like, no, none of that. She's like, wow, that's just wow. Like, yeah. And I was like, adventure games. That's was my thing back in those days. Yeah.
Cool. Well, I'm going through my stuff and downsizing, and I'd saved one floppy disk. And I had a clothing design business or something, and I had a graphic designer do a logo or something for me.
Wow.
Was it in like 64-bit where you could see all the little bits and pieces of the logo?
I have no idea. That was decades ago.
So tell me about the Colorado race. Like, are you guys still running? Like, before COVID, were you guys still running? I know you had, there were some ups and downs as to whether you guys are racing or not.
Well, to tell the truth, our last official race was 2017.
Right.
Um, we had miraculous weather for summer solstice weekend. Instead of 95, it was 75. And we only had about 75 spectators.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And, it takes us a year to produce it because we get the band stage and the bands and the food vendors.
Yep.
And I've been retired since 2012 from fashion design. And so I was spending like 90% of my time running the kinetics committee.
Sure.
We'd have 2 meetings a month and blah, blah, blah. And everyone was working full time. And we have all these great ideas. Like we should contact the Colorado School of Mines and get the engineers involved. We should contact the high schools. It's like, great, wonderful ideas, but I'm busy doing emails and press releases. So who's going to do this? And
Right.
everybody was working. So we really wanted to build more teams, and it really didn't happen. We had one team from Los Alamos come up, like teenagers. They'd heard about it in a coffee shop, and that was great.
Okay.
We had a Kansas team come. I think they'd been to California Kinetics. And it's really fun because we're in Longmont now. We were at the Boulder Reservoir for 28 years. And then radio station KBCO was purchased by the Clear Channel Radio. that was our main sponsor, and they weren't interested in sponsoring a local event.
Yeah, I mean, that's, so we're on our, and Robert knows this, so we're on our 5th year coming up this coming fall of Lowell Kinetic Sculpture Race, which is in Massachusetts.
Right.
We're about 35 minutes, 40 minutes outside of Boston. And,
Okay.
so it's a, fairly big city. It's not huge. It's not it's not a Boston or a Boulder or Denver or anything, but it's big enough that we can draw from. I mean, New England's a pretty dense area, so there's a lot of people to kind of draw from. But fundraising is always a challenge, and I'm sure Robert can kind of chime in on that too. It's like it's always a challenge every year. Is like who are we going to find to kind of make those things happen? I will say, fortunately, this year. We didn't have the race last year because of the pandemic, but this coming year, the Cultural Council, which is something that's a state-run kind of arts organization that doles out grants and funding for people or whomever applies. The state gave more money this year because of the pandemic, because they want to kind of stir up more stuff. And also there were less people that were actually submitting grant applications. So we did pretty well this year. Last year, or the 2 years ago, we came in at somewhere around 3,500 or so, which is it's a flash in the pan given the our grand budget and what the budget is. This year with them, we came in at 1,400 or 14,000. So 6,000 for 6,000 to be able to kind of promote the race, and 8,000 just for general funding. So we feel very lucky, and I know the challenges of fundraising. So you're saying that you're based mostly out of Boulder or outside of Boulder?
We had to find find another city. So Longmont, which is 15 miles, embraced us heartily. They thought we were so cool when they met us out at their small reservoir. So anyway, but briefly, because I know we want to talk about California virtual stuff. If you check out our Facebook page, Kineticist, so that's plural.
Okay.
Kineticist. We're trying to keep our family alive, so we tagged on to Longmont's Rhythm on the River in 18 and 19. It's in mid-July where it's like 95 degrees, but they have a pond, right? People have to park at the fairgrounds and walk right by the pond to get to the band stage and everything. So we're still doing a little parade on the pond, and so we can get our family together, our kinetics.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess that's the bigger question is what is your artistic community there? Like, are there people who are interested in kinetic racing or kinetic sculpture or sculpture in general, or like, what is your scene there?
Well, we've got about 12 or 14 dedicated teams that have been in the race. We've been around 40 years. So some of them 38 years, 35 years, 32 years.
Yeah.
So we're like 60, 70-year-old now, and we're still kicking, and they've still got, some of their sculptures from years ago.
Sure.
And we're just keeping along, hoping, we didn't think we tried finding the younger generation. We think they're more into robotics and stuff than welding in a garage.
I think, I'll tell you from my perspective, there's, yes, there is, certainly robotics is something that they're interested in, but I think that there's a crossover with those kids that are robotics students, to the idea of just doing stuff with their hands. Like they just want to kind of make stuff. And if you can find something to put into their hands to kind of inspire them to kind of do it, they're going to do it, or they're going to be inspired to do it. But I think you're right. It does take another generation or an older generation to be able to kind of inspire them to kind of want to do that. I mean, that's the basis of what Hobart wanted in the first place, right? Inspiring kids to want to be adults, right?
Right.
What I've noticed is the kids who do robotics and video games and fly drones around and stuff. When they sit in the thing and make it
Right.
move with their muscles, their whole world just suddenly expands.
Yeah.
And I think there is crossover, and I think there's room for both. And I think we're really, the hard thing with the 3D printing and the robotics is the amount of math you have to know in order to be successful at it. And with building a thing with your hands, you can be far less precise and you don't have to know nearly as much how an algorithm works. So I think that there's a way to like bring more opportunity to people that are learning things if we were clever about how we positioned kinetics. I don't think we've figured it out yet, but I think there is an opportunity there.
Yeah, we have a STEM school that that for the past 3 years, or the past 3 races, not last year, but for the past 3 races, that is local to Lowell, and they had a summer program that was a like STEAM kind of oriented kind of thing, and they based I think it was a 2-week program around building a sculpture. And so they had a UMass Lowell, which is the school that I teach at, engineering student that was basically the teacher for the program, and they built a very basic kind of like two mountain bikes pieced together with a couple of pontoon boats on each side, or kayaks on each side, which is very simple and basic. But those kids are now motivated to want to kind of, they're now getting older. The ones that were 3 years ago are now getting older to a point where, their parents are encouraging them to say, okay, where can we go with this? What's the next step, instead of just, two mountain bikes that are attached together, but how can we take this further? And I think that's a part of it, at least just planting the seed. It may not necessarily, it may not come to fruition, but as far as we look at it, we as a race, we encourage that as much as possible. We sell merchandise just like the Grand Kinetic Championship. We sell merchandise that doesn't go back into the race. It actually goes and we donate it to programs. And last year, or the last race that we had, we gave $2,500 of merchandise kind of money to that STEM program to be able to continue to kind of foster that kind of stuff. And we look at it as, it may not come to fruition next year or the year after, but it's going to continue to kind of keep fostering that kind of notion of the future of the race in some ways. And it's a challenge as far as, coming up on year 5, it has basically been just 2 people, myself and another person, Bianca, who has been running the race from beginning to end, nuts and bolts and all that kind of stuff. And so trying to kind of get other people roped into being a part of the organizing and all the kind of stuff that happens behind the scenes for the year, as you said, Sandy, it's always a challenge. And it's just finding people who are passionate about it. And I think the experience that I've had with the Grand Kinetic Championship is, the stories that you continue to hear are, oh, well, I started on as just a course monitor, and then after that it was like, oh, well, I became a peon, and then I became somebody who was actually helping out with the team, and then I actually became a team member and I was racing, and they wind up kind of building themselves up into this kind of space where like, I'm going to make a team myself this year. And it's trying to kind of continue that passion. It's tough, but it's what we got to do in some ways.
Well, just briefly, I'll wrap it up, but right at the beginning of COVID, like early March, Paul Bailey has come out to California to race. But anyway, he started our website and our underground movement when Boulder canceled us. He and I were on our way to meet Kim Stevens, who was part of a Rotary Club. and she lives out at Boulder Reservoir, and she wanted to see us come back to Boulder Res, at least for a reunion.
Yep.
And she said there would be all of these technical people that would know press releases, Rotary people. So I was driving to the meeting, and she FaceTimed me, and she said she just picked up her kid from college, in Boulder, and she didn't want to meet us in person, because the university was closing because
Right.
of COVID.
Yep.
So Paul and I talked to her over the cell phone at Panera Bread for an hour, and that was March of last year.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about, obviously, we wouldn't be doing anything this summer, but I'm thinking about contacting her again in case we want to plan something for 2022.
Sure. Yeah. It's as a race organizer, and I mean, it's always a challenge to try to kind of it's a yearly challenge of like finding funding and finding people, teams. Our first year we had 8 teams, and we slowly increased that. I think our highest was 18 teams year 3. Year 4 we had 12 teams, and then so this year we're aiming for 14 to 16. It's a one-day race. It's simple. It's there's a mud pit, there's a water feature, but again, it's getting involved with with maker spaces. It's getting involved with schools. It's getting involved with just having somebody that can outreach those things, and not merely just promoting the race in general, but promoting the race to people who are going to participate in the race, not just to people who are going to come to the race, is our challenge,
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm hearing two things, and I want to go back to the mountain bikes, lashed together in the course of the next little bit here. It continues to be cultivating racers and organizing the race. And both of those things are things that can become a shared task. And I think that's what excites me about the reorganization that we're doing at Kinetic Universe, is that if we do this intelligently, we can really support, not just the Humboldt race, but all the other endeavors. And I think that's a 2-part thing also. I think it's understanding how to do fundraising that has a big reach. Like the Humboldt race is mostly like a huge percentage of it is funded by racer fees. Yep. And it's like, can you guys like go get a couple of sponsors, or work with the Chamber of Commerce's or something? I mean, we could have a much larger racers should pay to participate, because that's when when money changes hands, that's when someone's committed. But like, if that's your major, yeah, but that shouldn't be. There should be more money also coming in. And there is, but it's too small of a percentage currently. So we're working on getting a fundraising database set up, and we're hoping that it's going to be robust enough that we can share it out to the rest of the racing community. And then the other part is, how do you build up the demand with younger racers? And so I want to know, Michael, when was this? So the people you want to capture are like the super high achieving middle schoolers, and then like the bulk of high schoolers who want to do something. So they already have school that they're going to. So yep. When was the program that what time of the year did it run with the?
So the STEM school, they So there's a couple of different actually organizations that are kid oriented that race. One is the STEM school, and the other is an after school program. And the benefit of it was really just outreach from our end. Was with the STEM school, it was me showing up with a bunch of photos that were on like foam core and large foam core photos and stuff, and being like pitching it to the principal and saying, hey, listen, this would be a great opportunity for you to be able to kind of teach STEAM kind of stuff to your kids. And he was all on board. He was like, yeah, this is a great opportunity. And so what they did was, fortunately in our city, there's another program or another organization that raises money to help fund schools in the city, Project Learn. So they basically they help to they'll give a few thousand or a bunch of $1,000s to each of the different schools. They fundraise in different kinds of ways. There's a reading program that they have and things like that. So when I pitched that, they were like, okay, well, we'll pitch this to this Project Learn. And Project Learn was like, yes, this is exactly what we're looking for. This is a great, thing. And so it was really kind of a convergence at the right time. But a part of that was just hitting the ground and taking the walks. Like I felt like a used car salesman or selling encyclopedias. It was a similar kind of thing. I was going to all these different places trying to kind of pitch my kind of thing. This is what we're doing. I think a part of it with that school in particular, because they are more focused on that STEM STEAM kind of idea, this fit right into their mantra. Now the other place was an after school program, which is in Lawrence. So that's it's about an hour away from Lowell. And the fortune with that was, I reached out to a whole bunch of people, and this person contacted me and said, hey, yeah, we might be kind of interested in this. I think, he had gone to a race or something like that, but he was a, former mechanical engineer that was teaching an after school program with a bunch of kids. And he was like, you know what, this sounds like a great, fun kind of thing to get my kids together to kind of make stuff. And in the 2 years that they participated, they created 2 teams. And they were crappy. They were awful. They broke down in the mud pit, and but they had fun the whole way through. They were smiling. They had costumes on. One was Pokemon oriented, and another one was. I mean, it was just they had a blast, and I think they learned a lot in the process. And the beautiful thing was that the person who organized them was really kind of, while he guided them, he also let them kind of learn their lessons in some ways. Like, okay, so. They used 2x4s for some of their project and how to make the things, which is a part of the reason why things broke down. But they still, they learned those lessons, and now they're older now and are motivated to kind of want to keep coming back. So I think, it's a mixed bag of trying to kind of, capture the younger people, but also capture the parents of the younger people who are also interested in this kind of stuff in some ways. The dad that's a gearhead that likes to run motorcycles on the weekends, or the cyclist that is enthusiastic about it's just a range of people, and I think in the end, it's just a matter of just continuing to kind of beat that pavement or walk the pavement and kind of keep kind of putting things out there and seeing what happens, seeing what comes back. It is a challenge. And I think as far as funding wise, it would be awesome. We would love to be able to have funding coming from the bigger race or something like that. To be honest with you, knowing the challenges of just raising money for our own race, I don't foresee that. I'm not banking on that. I understand your own challenges in trying to raise money, especially in Humboldt with the job situation and how things are going. As far as my friends have been telling me, it's a challenge, and so we're doing the best that we can. And as far as funding, it's just a matter of every year trying to tap into those same people that we've tapped into before. We Year after year, we've been growing our base as far as social media and our own website and things like that, and kind of continuing to promote that. So that has grown over the past few years. So that's been good. And yeah, so I'm fortunate too that because I'm affiliated with the university, each year, although this year we're not taking one because we didn't really need one, I have the ability to be able to get an intern that helps out with graphic design and other things like that. So there's small little bits that help with making the race happen, piecing together it all, because it's not just one kind of giant person that comes in and says, here's $50,000, make your race happen. Like, it's little bits and pieces from all over the place.
Right.
One idea you're inspiring me about is instead of trying to come up with 10 to 12,000 for our race, that was for bands, band stage, porta toilets. The only income we had was $10 per car, and then the team registration, which was probably, that income was only like probably 1,500.
Yep.
But instead of making this a big event with posters and advertising, we could just promote it as an art form, and the Longmont Union Reservoir would probably embrace us. We were there for 8 years. You know, they don't close the reservoir. People come and fish and paddleboard. It's a no-wake reservoir. And, you know, they've told us we could do it in the afternoon. The fishermen get mad. Our last race in 2017, teams were tangled up in fishing wire, and the fishermen were mad. So, you know, the leader of Union Reservoir said, you can come back next year, but let's do it at 3 p.m, which could be cool. The sun might be, you know, like declining. Not really, not at 3 o'clock in the summertime. But anyway, there's different times of the year. You know, maybe we should do it. We used to do it the first weekend in May.
Yep.
And sometimes it snows and you have to have like a rain day. And then
May's
September.
a tough time because that is a prime kind of fishing season anyway, isn't it? Like that's when, you know, everybody's starting to get out and the water's starting to warm up, and so everybody wants to be out fishing, right?
Right. Anyway, you're just inspiring me to keep it alive, but we don't have to have this big event that, you know, we had too many conflicts with June. There were all these weddings, you know, teams were being affected by, oh, they couldn't do it because of a wedding, and volunteers were like, no, I'm going to a wedding.
I mean, I think if you got the right people, they're going to have their wedding at the race is really the ideal, right? I mean, that's what you want. Right, Robert? We've seen a few weddings at races.
Yeah, I'm saying
Yeah.
their sister or their uncle or someone that they can't say, no, I can't come to your wedding. I have to be in kinetics. Anyway.
I think, you know, we have our race the third Saturday of September.
Right.
For us in the city, it's nice because it is a little bit of a college town. We have a big university and we have a community college. It's a great time as far as weather. There's always I want to say our first 4 years it was low 70s to low 80s. Like, it was always super nice weather. I knock on wood. I'm gonna jinx myself for this coming year, but we've always had really nice weather. I've always kind of overdressed and felt like sweaty, but as I'm riding through with the racers and stuff. But it's a good time of year, and it allows us, for us at least, the course of the summertime when there's all these other kinds of things that are going on, from like STEM fairs to general fairs to folk festivals and things like that, to bring the sculpture to a location and show off our race and show off a sculpture. When, you know, we brought the lobster roll, which was something that we brought out to California, people love that. They see it and they're like, wow, look at that. That's amazing. And they're like, what is this? And, you know, when we tell them, they're like, oh, that's really cool. And like, yeah, it's only happening in 3 weeks from now. Like, come and check it out. It's in Lowell. It's free, you know, like it's an easy sell for us when we bring a sculpture to them. And I think that's, you know, it's when it's early in the season, when it's in the springtime, you don't have as much of that time to kind of promote the race, to kind of get people out to the race. Baltimore has a similar issue. Like they have a spring race also. I think they're either a week before or a week after the Grand Connect Championship. Actually, I think they're a few weeks before.
I think they're the
And
first weekend in May.
what's that?
The first weekend in May.
Right. So they don't have that time to be able to kind of do all that promotion that we actually benefit from in some ways. And so in some ways, like, that was the ideal time for us in September, because like you said, like in the summertime, people are going to weddings, people are going to the beach, they're going on vacation as for family vacations. So in September, people are settling into their schedule. Like they're going to their soccer games, and they're going to like do their fall kind of things with school and all that kind of stuff. So it's a nice time that third weekend to kind of go out and do something outside where it's still kind of the weather's nice. And I think, it's just a good timing in some ways.
Okay, well, quick question. If you have schools involved in building sculptures, do they work on it during the school year and then continue during the summer and then race in September?
That is a challenge. So like I said, with the STEM school, they have a summer program that they work on. So that's where that comes in. So, they work on it for a couple of weeks over the summertime, and then the kids and the parents who are involved with that will kind of take it upon themselves to kind of continue to work on it for the rest of the summer. With the summer program, or with the after school program, it was a summer program anyway. So they were all showing up during the summertime anyway and kind of working on it. So they basically worked on it all summer. So that worked out really well.
Okay.
But with, we've tried to kind of get the university involved, but it's a challenge because with a school year, they're running from, with the university, we're running from September to May, and then they have the summer off, and they forget about, the possibility of trying to kind of create a team. So unless you can get professors that are super motivated to kind of make that happen, which is really difficult because all those mechanical engineering people are all such nerdy kind of people that are so caught up in their own little world that like trying to kind of get them to do something that's slightly different is almost next to impossible. I'm sorry, I'm a little cranky about that, if you might notice. But it's, it is a challenge. Timing is a challenge.
The thing is that if we did this right, we would be feeding those guys students that were eager to learn about hydrodynamics and, structure, finite analysis and all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
And they'd have an intuitive sense for it,
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's, we've had a couple of teams that have been interested that were, mechanical engineers that wind up kind of dropping in on a team to kind of help out here and there, but never really what it's going to take is a faculty member that is motivated to want to say, let's make this happen, and to create a course that's going to actually kind of involve it. At that point, it's just trying to kind of find that right person. And I think it's just it's a generational thing maybe, or something. I don't know. It's difficult.
We put out a survey, and the number one obstacle for participating that people reported was there's no information on how to build a kinetic vehicle.
Yep.
And what I know from my own experience is that's not true. But
totally.
What I hear when people say that is, I can't figure out how to start, because the information's out there, but the risk of starting is very profound. In Ferndale in Hobart's old house, It's now a coffee shop and kayak building uh, uh, enterprise. And I can go and find everything I need to build a kayak online and build a kayak. But this guy charges $2,100 for a week seminar, and you have all the materials. He's got the shop all set up, and at the end of a week, you have a kayak. And
Okay.
there's a spot there somewhere where people say, I can't find the information to build a kinetic vehicle, really means I need an expert, I need tools, I need space, I need permission and help. And then you're back into, the maker spaces and the tech shops, which I think what they were hoping is people were going to be self-directed enough that they would just want to use the facility all the time. And the reason that gyms stay afloat is there's trainers who partner with you and keep you on the machines. And every time I
Motivated
went
to keep you on the machines.
whenever I went to a tech shop or a maker space, there's the guy that makes sure that you know how to run the machine, but there's no like overarching, why are we all here? There was never any common goal. So I think that kinetics could be a common goal, that if there were programs like, we're going to take over this makerspace and we're going to build kinetic vehicles for a month. That would be a service that we could offer people that would increase participation. I'm not sure how to connect my idea to the real world yet, but
I completely agree with you, and I think it's an interesting thing because we've had, within my region, there are 3 to 4 maker spaces that are all viable spaces that could make something. Of those 3 or 4, only one has really kind of stepped up to do something. And what it took was just one person to get all of those people within that makerspace to say, hey, listen, this is a really cool thing. Because a makerspace is ideal. It's got, at least this particular makerspace, it had an automotive shop that had, all the gear. It had a wood shop. It had a tech area with a bunch of nerds that loved like making R2D2 kind of things moving through the space, and you name it. And somebody who was making like 3D prints of like giveaways for bribes and stuff. So it was a piecing together of everybody, and all it took was that one person to say, listen, let's do this. And he met with everybody and said, this is going to be a really cool thing. It's going to promote us. It's going to help to kind of get us out there. They made a great sculpture. It failed, but it was great. It was flamboyant and huge, had big wheels and everything. Like, it was really exciting. And they're coming back, and they were featured on a couple of TV shows here in the region and stuff. So they really they hit the mark in exactly what I was looking for. And like you said, I think if there's somebody or a person or somebody that can invest the time to be that gym trainer, or somebody that can go in to kind of do like, okay, we need this person, and this person to kind of make things happen. But it's that time investment for everybody. It's like, well, I have my own personal interest in wanting to kind of make 3D prints of the little tchotchkes that I put on my Pokemon tchotchkes or something, like, how can we convert them into actually making bribes? Or how can we convert somebody that loves working on cars to be able to kind of think about, how am I going to get these 4 wheels to move forward or whatever, it's,
well, you just touched on the goal of the intercollaboration and the value of getting a bunch of people in the room and brainstorming a thing. Like, none of us really knows what the answer is. You have your part, you've got your thing. What do we all have when we come together? And it turns into, oh my gosh, this glorious under the ocean thing. And I've made these little 3D printed anemones that look like filter feeders. Who knows what?
Bring in the intern.
Yeah.
I freaking love that. It was fantastic. You did a great job last year. It was just so amazing.
Thank you. We had a blast doing it. Yeah.
It was a great job. I watched that dozens of times.
Thank you. I would like to make something again and, like figure out a storyline and a plot that I could like have you film something that
we're game.
that fits in to to whatever it is.
We'd definitely be game with that for sure.
Cool.
Between Nick and Pastry Queen and Jay Hungate and myself and Bianca, like we'd definitely be all down for that.
Okay.
And I emailed Jeno earlier this afternoon because I had reached out to her, and I think you were tagged in the email too. Like, I'm willing to kind of sit in on planning stuff like I did last year with you guys. I don't know how much I can commit to actually doing specific things, but actually, just supporting and providing perspective and things like that. But as far as like, if you give us a task to kind of say, hey, listen, we want you to kind of tape 2 segments or 3 segments or something about a certain particular theme or something like that, like, yeah, we're definitely down for that.
Okay.
And even also like award time too. Like we've got a bunch of people out here that make awards and make stuff. So we would love to be able to kind of send something off to you guys and be like, the Lowell Award or just whatever award that you need, because I know that's a challenge too.
I'm really not feeling any kind of competitive spirit this year. I'm feeling more of a, like, myself personally. And this happened because of a couple of conversations I had with some other racers, that I'm feeling like I would rather do something that was service oriented. So like there could still be awards, but I'm really feeling like I've got this idea for a kinetic vehicle with a giant basket on it, and we would be the trash pandas, and we would just paddle around our area picking up trash. And that would be our thing. I'm not going to try to go through the water. I'm not going to try to climb a hill. I'm just picking up trash.
Yep.
And or maybe it is out on the ocean, or something. I don't know.
Well, we have within our city, we have canals, and people throw, you name it, in those canals, from old bikes to just all kinds of stuff. And so we've had some people that go out with boat type kind of things to try to pull things out of there and stuff. I would love to see us as an organization go out with sculptures and start pulling things out to kind of clean up those canals. That would be ideal for me. And I've talked about it. We've had a conversation about that, but it's trying to kind of line everybody up to make that happen is difficult.
Well, where's Mr. Waterwheel?
Mr. Waterwheel?
Yeah.
Sure.
Boston Harbor? Where is he?
What is Waterwheel? Mr.
Waterwheel? Oh my golly. Let me
is that with a Cambridge race?
No. Doggone it. My original Zoom window closed. Let me see if I can re-go it again. I don't want to start it. I want to join it. How do I?
What are you looking to do? To share?
I was going to try to share a screen.
Yeah, so just click on the bottom, the green button that says share screen.
There's another challenge. I'm running the Zoom meeting through my computer, but I'm talking to you through my phone.
Oh,
And the computer took a dump.
uh-oh.
So, and if I start the meeting, it might boot me off. Let's see what happens. It says that it won't, that it can't keep the live stream going, but there's only 4 people. But let's see what happens here. Oh, cool. It looks like it might work. Okay. So share. And we're going to do the whole desktop just because. And we're going to share sound.
So I don't know if you know, but the Baltimore race also decided to kind of, they're not doing a race this year either.
I did not. That is a fact that I was not aware of.
Yep. They just announced it a couple of weeks ago also.
Yeah. Oh, it's Baltimore. Okay. Mr. Trash Wheel, that's what it is. Sorry.
So he's out of Baltimore, or they're out of Baltimore?
It is a solar powered garbage gobbler.
Cool.
And let's see if it'll pop up here. You know what? We'll just look at a photo. We don't need to watch a video. But somebody around here found out about this and wants to build one for the Russian River. And the artist who created this is all over it. He's like, yeah, let's populate all of our creeks and rivers with a trash collector.
Nice.
So what they do is there's a water wheel that runs a conveyor belt.
Yep.
And it here's the picture here.
Oh yeah. I've seen that before. Yeah. Yep.
I mean, why aren't there sculptures paddling around it? Why isn't there a sculpture day?
Yep. And there's also, I want to say there's some younger kids. I mean, kids. I say 20 somethings that have. It's not as pretty as this, but a trawler type thing that is going to get the sea of plastic that's out in in the Pacific.
Yeah, they towed it out past the Farallon Islands, and it did okay. It wasn't perfect, but they certainly got a bunch of data running it, so good for them.
Now, where is that one that you just showed us? Where is that based out of?
Baltimore.
Oh, it is Baltimore. Okay.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And I agree with you. Like, I feel as though we would like to be able to be more service oriented in some ways, to be able to kind of provide for the opportunity to be able to kind of help our community in more than just inspiring kids to want to kind of do STEAM kind of oriented stuff, but supporting cleaning up our environment, because as much as we would like to all believe that we're recycling everything that we create in our race, that's not the case. We're making a lot of crap, and I think it's important for us to recognize that first, and to also put back, so that while we may not necessarily be a what's the term, a net zero kind of situation or something where we're taking away from the environment or kind of helping the environment more than we are putting back or putting into the environment. that would be ideal. But you know as well as I do, I mean, all the little tchotchkes that get made and all the things that get bought for teams or for sculptures. I mean, there's a lot. And while we like to kind of promote the idea that, yeah, we're using recycled materials, yes, to some degree we are. I mean, I collect can tops all year, you know, and I use those and I make things out of them, but I'm still having to buy a lot of junk in order to be able to make those things happen in some ways.
Yeah.
So if there's some way that I can kind of give back to kind of make sure that we're supporting the environment, I think that's a huge plus for all of us.
In the 60s and 70s and the 80s, it was important to, the vision of adults having fun so kids want to grow up was important. We were at the tail end of so many things, and grown-ups were cocktail hours were over, and people were getting serious, and it was important to play. Now it's important to start taking care of the environment, and like we can want to show children grown-ups having fun so that kids want to grow up, but if we're fiddling while Rome burns, that just makes the kids go, you guys are a bunch of idiots. Why don't you fix the problems? Why are you playing when there's real work to do?
Yep. Yeah, I totally agree. Yep, I completely agree with that. I mean, that's not to say that, the race back, when I was in California and watching the race, it was 88 to 96. And, even in those years, like, they still had the pedal powered kind of microphones for the main stage on the plaza. And like, they were still kind of like trying to do as best as they could. But to some degree, like you said, it was still about that notion of trying to kind of make something that was about just, having fun and enjoying what was around. It wasn't as much about kind of being mindful of the environment. And like you said, like younger generations are going to look at us and be like, why are you doing this without kind of being mindful of what's going on in the environment?
Yeah.
So I agree with that. I think that's a great idea.
And I like the idea of being out in the community. I mean, we can certainly be out with our mask on and stuff, but the idea that I had was even if people don't have sculptures, I mean, we want to reach out to everyone around the world for this event. Most people either have a bicycle or could borrow a bicycle. Yep. And so I was just trying to think, what could we do? Like if you had a bicycle, could you make something that you tow that would be, but if we don't do like a competition this year and like do a service thing, that would be cool too.
I would love to see a unified effort with all the races to be like, to move towards that notion of saying, what are we doing to help our community?
Right.
As a whole, it would be really nice to kind of see, Baltimore and the West Coast races, even Colorado, to kind of to have maybe a unified mission of, we're having these kind of fun things, but we're also kind of helping the world a little bit, or at least helping our communities, because start locally, right, to act globally.
Right. But right now we can do both. We're already nationwide.
Yep.
West Coast, middle of the country, East Coast. Like, Michael, do you want can I put you in touch with a couple of young folk out here?
Please do.
Who share that vision? Okay.
Yep.
And Sandy, do you want to be like, I'm thinking of like maybe a focus group or a task force to like explore this idea. Does that sound interesting?
Yeah, I'm down with that. Bob, you have my info? You have my email and stuff like that? You have local, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
How about you, Sandy?
Well, describe what I'd be doing.
I think at first it's just brainstorming, like an important thing is to always understand what scale you can actually accomplish with the resources you've got. And like a lot of people are extremely visionary and they dream a little too big. And sometimes it's nice to have like more voices that hit, like you've been doing the race for 40 years. You understand the amount of effort it takes to do anything. So
Right.
like, and I like I like the way that you thought about a simple task, like a bicycle pulling a trailer. Like that's a containable, achievable goal. And if we had like a video marketing campaign that promoted what we were up to, it could even be an ongoing thing. Like we're just out dressed silly and picking up trash or delivering meals or carrying, maybe there eventually is a competition. How many pounds of garden soil can you carry from the nursery to the old folks home? Uh, like what was it called? The cargo. There was like a survival cargo bike competition in Portland for a while. So I think that's what it would be like, but just talking amongst a small group of people to come up with some ideas.
Yeah, and I think Nick would be really interested in this too, because he's part of a bike gang that's based outside of Boston in the Cambridge area, and they, basically what they do. I mean, they're not as service oriented, but they go out for a ride, I think every month or so, with lights, and a nighttime ride with lights and music and all kinds of stuff. And they ride through the city of Boston and out into the suburbs and stuff like that. I think that this would be something that would be right up their alley. So I can pass that on to Nick also, and he might be interested in that.
Okay. So Bob, getting more specific. So
Sure.
in terms of a task force, a task force group, are you talking about me in my community talking to some of the kineticists? Or are you talking about bringing together some people and we have some Zoom meetings? Or what specifically is your vision?
I think it starts easy with Zoom meetings to figure out what's something that seems interesting enough to be sustainable. And then it would eventually go out into the community. And like if you wanted to nominate somebody from Boulder area for us to work with or talk to, that might be the best option also. But the thing that's also interesting is, like Michael was talking about having the sculptures out in the world so people see more of more sculptures and get more interested. So it's almost a marketing opportunity.
Right.
Yep. I think if we if we get our sculptures out onto the canals of Lowell, cleaning up the trash, I mean, it's an easy peasy kind of no brainer way to, I mean, while in the first place, yeah, it's a great way for us to market it. While we want to be community oriented and be able to do these things anyway, it's a bonus that the Lowell Sun or the local TV station will pick it up also at the same time. I think I mean, I know we have to think about that in that way. And it makes me feel kind of squeamish to kind of be like, am I selling out because I want to get promotion for my race, or am I really doing something for the community? So, I mean, it's a part of the beast. It's a part of the beast, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I think it's a great opportunity to be able to kind of do both. And but also, like, as I said, like our summertime kind of opportunities to be able to kind of go to festivals and go to open markets and things like that is a great opportunity for us to be able to kind of promote the race, just seeing sculptures out and about. And
Yeah.
and especially more unique ones, not just a couple of like mountain bikes attached to each other, but something like the lobster roll, or Nick and Carl had this kind of one that has a giant ball that was the front wheel of their sculpture, and it's fascinating. People look at it and go, wow, look at that. It blows their mind.
Burn. How do you? Yeah, that's a great sculpture.
Yeah, and it's just fun to look at. I mean, yeah. So it's those types of things that really kind of help to kind of inspire people, I think. And so getting it out and about more often as much as possible is a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It-
You have the race. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Sandy.
oh, well, I was just gonna ask, is Kinetic Universe thinking about live streaming Memorial Day weekend like they did last year?
Yes, we are thinking about live streaming on Memorial Day weekend, but not like last year.
It was a challenge watching last year, to be honest with you. I tried and it was really difficult.
Yeah.
Well, it was fun. I hung in there. I had participated in the plaza, the microkinetics. And so at first, when the MC was trying to announce us, he didn't have the notes. And I had like the green frog, which is right behind me here. And he was saying, oh, here's the green frog. I don't have my notes yet. And then later they kept running it, like 30 times. And then finally, goes, oh yeah, this is the entry from Boulder. This is Freddie Fly. But no, I hung in there. I was devoted to watch it all as much as I could. But the reason I'm asking, if we're gonna think about a service thing, would we'd be like doing videos? Like I can picture our kinetics group at the farmers market, which opens in April. And so like maybe, I don't know, it doesn't have to be a competition, but how many different events could you do, or how many farmers markets could you attend? You've got like a 5-second clip from April 1st and a 5-second clip from the 8th, and I don't know.
Yeah. I love it.
And see, we've got the Pearl Street Mall right next to the farmers market, and it's a bricked in mall. And we couldn't ride on the mall, but we could walk on the mall.
Mm-hmm.
And that's about 6 blocks, and there's tons of people on Pearl Street Mall and the buskers. It's a lively scene.
Now you said that they're starting up in April. Is that something that is it? I mean, obviously with the pandemic, it's going to be tailored back a little bit. You're not going to have as much of the buskers and other kind of people out and about.
Well, when I say April, usually the farmers market starts the first Saturday in April.
Sure.
And in May, it's twice a week. It's Wednesday nights, like 4 to 8.
Yeah.
The Boulder County Farmers Market did operate this year. They let in so many people at a time, and they wanted you to go to your vendors and just get your stuff and then exit and not hang around, and sip your coffee.
Yeah.
So they did have it open this year.
Sure.
But anyway, that's the scoop with our farmers market.
I think it'd be fun to kind of see if you inspired me in talking about how many people we can get, or how many different kind of farmers markets we can go to, or how many kind of events. Something that spurned in my brain was how many people can we get in a particular seat of a sculpture. So you continue to kind of rotate, so the video continues to go through with a new person sitting in that sculpture, and then a new person as it makes its way down a street or down a particular area or something like that. And again, kind of continuing that idea of kind of promoting people getting into things. But I really, I think as far as getting together with other people, connecting us, Bob, I would certainly like to, I mean, my nights are free. I'm pandemic. I'm not going out and enjoying life at all. So I'm like, this is my life right here. So between school, sitting on Zoom meetings, to sitting at night and sitting in Zoom
Making
meetings,
pizza.
it doesn't really matter. Yeah. So it's all good. And I know that, I think that I want to say that Jenna was talking about having a meeting that is more geared towards all the other races around the nation also, or a committee or something like that, or she seemed to
We,
imply that.
yeah, so the the four of us who are currently running the nonprofit we're realizing the need for just all of this organizing and structure. There's so many people who want to help, and there's never been a good system to fit them in. And so we're trying to do the two things at once. Here's the things we need, and what is it that you want to do? And it's like, all these skewed lines in space all flying past each other. And some people are already saying, hey, you guys aren't listening to me. It's like, oh my golly, there's so many of you talking at once. So, and
So
we need that. So
tell me, there's a switch of power that's happened. I'm assuming is what's going on here. I'm just reading the cards here a little bit. So is Katie Texas no longer around, or like, are there people who are no longer around and there's new blood that's coming in, or what's going on?
yeah. So Katie Texas has retired as president, and we've got a brand new board, and we're very committed to being a board and not being an events committee. The race has always been run. I mean, even back from the very beginning, when somebody started a nonprofit to run the race,
Yeah.
they didn't need a nonprofit to run the race the way that they were running the race. They could have just had an events committee and, sold merch and made a company and, whatever, but they did it this way. And we're like the first people coming along and saying, let's actually have some structure to this and make it so it's obvious where people can contribute their skills. And like, what is it that the nonprofit umbrella organization actually can contribute, instead of just, going out and getting permits in January so that there can be a race? What are the other things? Well, part of it is like having more than a $20,000 budget. That's ridiculous to have a community of literally thousands of people, and the budget is $22,000.
Is that the budget for your race?
That's the budget for the race.
You gotta be.
Well, that's the budget for.
I have a 1-day race, and it's a $40,000 race. What the fuck? Oh my God. I'm sorry, I cursed. I just thrown that out there.
It's a lot of people. It's heavily volunteer run.
Yeah.
And the people who run it burn themselves out because they're doing way too many jobs.
Yeah.
And and they're really, it's
Hey, it's tough being an organizer, isn't it? It's nice to be able to build your machine and show up and be like, here I am, I'm ready to fucking rock and roll. And then all of a sudden, like, oh my God, like the organizing part of it is like, it can be a nightmare sometimes. I'm feeling your pain, Bob. I really do. Yeah. I get it. But hang in there.
Sandy is clever enough, and I mean this. You're clever enough to hook up with your music festival. Let them do all of the permitting and organizing and advertising, and you guys just show up and play along. And that's that's like, that's genius. Just
Yeah.
enjoy that. That's good.
That was
Right.
initially, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Sandy.
Well, okay, let's say I retired in 2012, and so I never kept track of my hours, but basically I was keeping everybody together and running the meetings of blah, blah, blah. So let's say 800 hours a year of my volunteer, answering thousands of emails every year, press releases that I was writing, blah, blah, blah. So when we did the parade on the pond, that's something that I could do like in 20 hours, like you bring the tent and, I'll bring the sign. We had yard signs made, Longmont Kinetic Race. I'll bring the balloons, tell the teams what time to show up, get the approval from the city of Longmont. It was just like 20 hours, 40 hours total versus, it was a lot of worry on my shoulder because we had, like, a week before the race, we had no parking lot volunteers, none.
Yeah.
Yeah, Paul Bailey was racing. He's like, okay, I'll get some of my Rotary people. I'll get some of the I mean, it was just like major headaches.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. The little race that we do in Oakland, we just tag along with the bike advocacy group there, and it makes it. I mean, it's still effort, but like I'm not doing the bulk of the effort. We're just one of the shows that's part of the thing. So
Right. And
That was a part of what we were doing is we were supposed to our first year to tag on to an arts festival that was going to happen. And the people who were part of organizing the arts festival were, were just, they dropped the ball essentially. And Bianca and I were sitting there looking at each other and going, well, what do you think? Let's just do this on our own. So we were like, fuck it, we'll do it on our own. And that's what happened. The arts festival eventually kind of made its way and did something a few years later, but it was really what it was. It was a bunch of egos that were upset that they weren't getting the money that they were expecting from the city and all kinds of other kind of political kind of things. And Bianca and I were just like, we have this cool idea. We want to do this and we're going to make it happen. And so it was, it was that kind of challenge, but it's a year after year. It's trying to kind of make sure that as you experience, Sandy, is that, how's it going to happen? Who's going to be putting in the time to kind of make it happen and all that kind of stuff.
So to answer your question about Geno and whatever the thing is, it's again, it's more brainstorming, and it's probably mostly geared towards whatever the virtual event is going to be this year. And because I'm hip deep in this part of it, I'm looking at what my involvement's going to be, and I'm probably not going to be building anything, but I could see myself like leading a video production of some sort. But I'm hoping that there's enough people who speak up and say, let's do something a little more free for all, a little more maker faire-y rather than race competitive-y. I think we need to celebrate each other and that we've gotten this far in the pandemic rather than figure out something that's not an egg drop. But I'm totally open to whatever the larger community wants to do. And
I
they
think
should
the
do.
challenge, I found the challenge with last year, at least trying to kind of motivate people here to kind of say, hey, let's try to put something together for the Kinetic Grand Championship. It's a perfect opportunity where, we can't go to the race, but we can do something remotely that challenge came, it wasn't so much about building stuff as it was like, okay, who's going to video it? How are we going to piece together all the videos? How are we going to make this and that happen? So, and I know that you had somebody that was helping to do that last year to submit stuff, but I know that it was also, it's a lot of stuff that you're all kind of culling together to try to make a production in some ways, right? Because that's what it is. It's a production.
Yeah.
And I think that I think something that is that's interesting about the Baltimore race is that each year they try to go through some kind of theme so that they don't have sculptures that are the same sculpture that are coming through every year. So there's either a food theme or there's some kind of theme that winds up kind of making their way through. In the same way that your particular team last year went with this underwater kind of, exploration kind of theme, that maybe there's the possibility of, diving into a particular kind of notion for what this Grand Kinetic Championship is, and getting everybody from all the other places to kind of throw in something that is meaningful around that kind of similar kind of theme.
I'm going to add that to the list of ideas that Jeno is having me gather.
And as as Sandy and yourself have both said, like, it doesn't necessarily have to be competitive, but it's just something that runs itself with that similar kind of idea or notion of whatever that theme may be. And
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
One of the things that I see a lot is people making music videos to their favorite, whatever. The challenge there is it's difficult to broadcast because, there's a lot of, no one goes out and gets permission to use those music videos.
Yeah, right. I mean, there's the possibility in some ways, I guess, is using social media to our benefit in some ways where certain particular social media platforms have the permission to be able to run certain kinds of music. So myself, having started TikTok last year, not last fall, but the fall before, with my daughter, she was like, "Oh, go check this out." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, whatever. It's just another social media, whatever." And I started getting into it. And I was like, "Wow, this is really cool. It's fun." And at first I was like, it's a bunch of kids that are out there doing dances and like, there's, thirsty kind of posts and stuff like that. But I came to realize that, for me as a 51-year-old, there's a whole bunch of us out there doing those things too, or also talking about politics or food TikTok or dogs or, you name it. So what about that possibility of using the music that like something like TikTok provides, where you have a 60-second kind of little glimpse of something, and we all of a sudden we hashtag that like a motherfucker with kinetic sculpture rays, grand kinetic sculpture rays, all those kind of things, in such a way that it creates a movement in and of itself of Grand Kinetic Championship kind of stuff in 60-minute shots,
Yeah.
Because it's quick and easy. A 60-minute shot is like, yeah, you can edit it and you can make a great video, or you can also just off the cuff, like, here I am, I'm doing a dance and rocking it,
In front of my kinetic sculpture with my weird costumes.
Right, exactly.
I'm dancing with my frog.
But I think that there's a lot of opportunity with TikTok or some kind of similar platform to be able to do something like that, where you don't have to worry about the music kind of.
Well, that's because it's in China. They don't enforce the copyright laws. That's why you get to get away with it.
They do to some degree. I mean, it's you're allowed a certain amount of seconds to be able to do something, but you're right. You're right.
Well, you're kind of our TikTok expert, so I'm gonna make sure your name is all over that idea.
No, wait. Abort. Send in the intern.
Oh. Hey, you guys, I was in a crummy mood when this started. I am not now. So thank you very, very much.
Oh. Bob, what I'm thinking of doing this week is talking to like Paul Bailey, who always has fantastic ideas. And, he had an entry in the Micro Plaza parade. he did stop motion photography, and he took his wooden kiwi with some salt and pepper shakers
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it went across the screen.
That was cute. Yeah,
Yeah,
I like
very
that.
creative. So I can brainstorm with him, and then every Wednesday, um, myself and my friend Sarah, and then my kinetics friend Steve Cohen, that's done 38 of the 40 years. We meet every
Wow.
Wednesday. Um,
Oh,
yeah, we meet like at a coffee shop right next to McGuckin's Hardware. And McGuckin's has been open 66 years. And you can shop inside with the mask. So, you know,
Nice.
even if it's cold outside, the sun shines on that brewing market outdoor cafe, and we start have like when I park my car 40 feet away, it says 29 degrees, and when we're standing by the wall with no wind and sun, it's like 60 degrees. So I'm having to take some
wow.
jackets off and scarves off.
Talk about your microclimates. Yeah.
It's so funny. But yeah, we've been getting together all winter every Wednesday, and we talk kinetics. And, I told Steve that, okay, we're going to be doing something new this year. And he's the one that came up with Green Goddess dressing for my moniker. Because I was Lily Lenscap years ago. I was the wizette because we had a great kinetic wizard who was the head judge, and I was his wizette. We had to part ways with them due to certain situations. So then I went to Steve. Okay, I have 1,000 silk lilies. I'm in the fashion industry. The designer I work with is going to throw them in the trash. I've rescued them. It took him 5 seconds. Lily Lenscap.
Yeah. Lily
Because I've been
Lenscap.
taking pictures for
Lovely Lily Lenscap. Yeah.
So
Well,
then
Green
it got
Goddess is good too.
right. Well, then I wanted to be a queen because I found like a rhinestone thing at a shop. It was reduced from $100 to $20. So he was like, okay, what am I? He's like, Queen Sandy. And then the next year I wanted to make a new costume. And so I said, I want to be a goddess because Goddess Jeno. He goes, Greek goddess dressing.
Yeah.
You know,
So anyway, yeah, I can brainstorm with people here in Colorado. And,
All right.
I'm on Kinetic, Geno's committee thing. So we'll be meeting probably next Thursday.
I think so. Yeah. I think that's true.
Yeah, I think she said the first and third Thursdays.
yep.
Yeah. All right. Sounds like a plan.
Yes.
Okay.
Like a lot of plans.
Lots of plans. Hey, so certainly pass on my email to people who are interested in, the concept that we talked about before about, general theme for everybody, but also even just other races around the United States. If you guys are going to work together, some kind of a committee of some sort to kind of talk about stuff generally, like I would love that. I know the Baltimore race is a challenge to kind of get in touch with certain particular people because they're just busy with their own jobs, but
That's gracious. Yes.
yeah. I mean,
So Michael, what is your email address?
okay, so lowellkinetic.com or lowkinetic@gmail.com. I'll put it in the chat here.
lowellkinetic@gmail.com.
Yep. And so that gets fielded by myself and Bianca, who's the co-director. But you can also send, if you want to, Michael Roundy, you see my name at the top there. It's all one word, michaelroundyart@gmail.com.
Michael Roundy, what'd you say, art?
Art, yep.
Okay.
And thank you for bearing with me as I made my pizza tonight that I'm eating now.
That was
That's okay.
delightful. That was yeah.
And
It
just
was like
before we,
hanging out. Go ahead.
oh, yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but yeah, I'm glad we cheered you up tonight.
Same.
Before we leave the meeting, I just wanted to let Michael know that I met PQ in the bathroom at the community center in 2018 when we did the pageantry.
Oh, in
Um,
Arcata?
in Arcata?
I mean, I'm sorry, in Ferndale?
No, in Arcata. It was Friday night before the race.
Oh, 2017. So, okay, so that was the
No,
year
I'm
that we
sorry.
were not.
No, 2018, the
Okay,
50th Solid Gold Grand Kinetics.
yeah. Yep. Well, that's
Were you
great. That's awesome. You were, we had a blast at that race. That was with Lobster Roll, right? Was our team?
right? Yeah,
Yep.
I couldn't believe it. I met her in the bathroom and she's like, yeah, we're from Lowell. Yeah, we brought the lobster roll all the way out. I'm like, what? All the way? You guys are crazy.
Yes, we were.
Yes.
And that was I don't know if you heard the story, but they broke down. So a bunch of us flew out and went out to California that way. And then, the trailer that had the lobster roll in it wound up breaking down in, what was it? It was, I'm gonna forget the town, but it was like southern. It was outside of San Francisco, actually outside of Sacramento, like just coming into the mountains. And the axle broke on the trailer. It was like literally, like 10 o'clock at night or something like that. They wound up like finding this old codger that was like, yeah, I can fix it. Like, yeah, they had to buy him a beer or something, or I don't know what it was, but he wound up fixing it and like patching it together to be able to make it up to Arcata. And so it was just, we were all stressed out because we were getting the text like, oh my God, like how is this are we gonna be able to make it? Is it gonna happen? And like, this is 2 days before the race. I think it was like Thursday. It was Wednesday night before, the weekend. So we were all stressed out about it, but yeah, that was it. I will say we all had a great time. We stayed at Bernadette Fielding's, who's I don't know if you know her, but she's out of Eureka and she had a house there. So it was perfect for us. Like, day one, we were able to crash right at her place, which is right like a stone's throw away from the park there. And we just had a great weekend.
She speaks very fondly of that. She was so thrilled and just so pleased to have all you like just descend on her.
We filled her house up. We were to the gills. Living room, literally, you had to walk over people's legs in order to be able to get to the kitchen or the bathroom. And Bernadette and I go way back. We actually went to undergraduate at Humboldt State together.
Wow.
She was in the art department. She was a sculptor, and I was a printmaker in the department. So that's where that friendship kind of stemmed from initially.
Okay.
Yeah. And that was like 88 to or 89 to 96 or so good 6 or 7 years there.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep. In fact, I just spoke with her last week. We had a little Zoom meeting with some old friends.
Good.
But all right, so pass on my email for sure, both of you, and I'm gung ho. I at this point, like, we're still kind of planning for a race in September, and obviously we're starting to do fundraising. We just got a couple of grants, which we're really happy about, and moving forward. So I'm trying to kind of build teams and all that kind of stuff, but we also want to be supportive and help out with you guys. So keep us posted.
That'll be cool. My goal is to go to all the races, and I haven't been to all the races because I was doing our races for many years.
Yeah.
And I never felt like going to Baltimore because that was just a couple of weeks before California. And I'm like, that's a lot of traveling. Plus, we would have our race in June. It was really difficult coming back from California and then going boom right back into press releases and for our event. But I did it. I went to California 6 times, 2010, 12, 14, 16,
nice,
18 and 19. A volunteer, registrar. timer, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, it's such a different beast than our races. You know, I mean, mine's a 1-day race. You know, and while it's unique in and of itself, and same with the Baltimore race, but the 3-day race is it's a lot more grueling. I will say by day 3, I was cooked. When I was in Ferndale, like I slept so well that night.
Yeah.
Monday night, like I crashed hard.
Yeah.
We ate a big dinner and that was it. We were all out. There was no partying going on. We were just like, yeah, we're done.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was a great done. We were so happy. But yeah, so certainly you're welcome to come out, and we can always help you out with accommodations or anything. And if you want to help out with a race, like we're always welcome for volunteers or whatever. And obviously, like any Bob, if there's anybody that's out in California that's like, I want to race this year no matter what, like send them out. We had Scott Campbell. Campbell, is that right name? He and his wife Pam came out, and they won the whole thing, the whole shebang. They got the grand champion and everything. They killed it. They went through the mud pit, and people were like, "Holy shit, these 80-year-olds are freaking killing it!"
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know.
They were.
She's so tiny. She's like this itty bitty. It's like, oh my gosh, a puff of wind is gonna just blow you away. And she's like,
I know, totally. But they were so goddamn adorable and cute and super nice, and like we just loved it. Everybody loved it. They were great.
Yeah.
So anyway, if pass the word on, if anybody wants to come out, we'll do our best to accommodate them as best as possible and all that kind of stuff. But keep me posted as far as meetings and stuff.
Yeah, Bob probably knows who Don Clark is.
I do. I love Don Clark.
Been to California about 5 or 6 times. And when the pandemic started, we were hoping that Port Townsend would be a go. And Don was thinking about Port Townsend. So yeah, I can put the bug in his ear. I'm sure he already did a sculpture. We got together on a private lake in July. You'll see it on our Facebook page, Kineticist. He had his costume and his sculpture. He's like, a hair-raising rabbit or something. He's got the giant, carrots on his craft, and then his bunny suit. He's been ready for a long time.
I want to be him when I grow up. He is so sweet and so just present. He's like a bodhisattva or something. I love Don.
He's amazing. And I think he's approaching 70.
Yeah.
And he's acing. Oh my God.
I know.
Well, that's where we were with Pam and Scott. Like, what? You guys are acing the race? Like, you got these like young bucks that are 20-something, and they're like, we can't make it through the mud. Like, I fucking love it.
Yeah. Well, I inspired my kids to start getting in shape when they came and stayed with me. They're like, dang, Dad, slow down. It's like, excuse me. I'm twice your age. Come on, you keep up with me. Come on. I should be having a hard time here. Now they're out. Now they're putting me to shame. They're out in the ocean swimming, in 54 and 52 degree water, and doing mile swims and stuff. It's like, oh golly, you guys. Oh. Oh, it's not so bad, Dad, because the air temperature is the same, so it actually feels warmer when you stay in the water.
No, it's not.
No, my old bones are like, no. Yeah.
All right. It was nice meeting you, Sandy. And
lovely chatting.
Sure.
You. Yeah.
We would love to be able to kind of help you out and promotion stuff or whatever we can do. And Bob obviously will be in touch. So